Hello and welcome back. Well, I hope you guys are all ready for this. I did find something out. I did that show the other day on the stimulus and how the IRS was saying the 24th was going to be the last day that they do direct deposits. Well, come to find out, surprise, they're doing more. So we don't need to worry about that. If you get direct deposit, they're still going to be doing them for a while, I guess. So that's a good thing for people who were expecting that. They must have caught some flack from someplace or something because they're no longer just going to send the checks and everything out. I still haven't found out about when they're going to start with SSDI and all that. So as I find that information, I'll bring that up to you. But yeah, tonight, I pulled up off the actual Senate website the history of a filibuster, and I also pulled up the origins and development of the U.S. Senate so that people can understand what the filibuster actually is, how long it's been a part of the Senate, and what the role of the Senate actually is. So let's see, I'll get up to the screen sharing. But yeah, Brian, I'm glad that you could actually make it in tonight. Mary, good seeing you. Let's see, I want to make sure this gets up there. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the filibuster. I'm going to pull this up so I can actually see it better. All right. About filibusters and cloture, historical overview. Whether praised as the protector of political minorities from the tyranny of the majority, or attacked as the tool of partisan obstruction, the right of ultimated debate in the Senate, including the filibuster, has been a key component of the Senate's unique role in the American political system. So since the Senate has started, you guys, me reading through this, I found this out and I didn't even realize this. Literally, since their first meeting, the filibuster has been part of their Senate. So them saying it's a thing of the Jim Crow era and stuff like that, you guys, they're feeding out a bunch of, literally a crock of shit on that. But the tactic of using long speeches to delay the action of legislation appears in the very first session of the Senate on September 22nd, 1789. Pennsylvania Senator William McClay wrote in his diary that the design of the Virginians was to talk away the time so that we could not get the bill passed. And as the number of filibusters grew in the 19th century, the Senate had no formal process to allow the majority to end the debate and force a vote in legislation or in nominations. So in the original one, even if someone was being nominated to a seat or nominated to a committee or something, they could use the filibuster talking point back then to literally block any vote that was coming forward. And while there were relatively few examples of the practice before the 1830s, the strategy of talking a bill to death was common enough by the mid-century to gain a colorful label, the filibuster, derived from the Dutch word of freebooter and the Spanish filibusteros to describe the pirates then raiding the Caribbean islands. The term began appearing in American legislature debates in the 1850s. I saw many friends standing on the other side of the House filibustering, commented Mississippi Albert Brown on January 3rd, 1853. A month later, North Carolina Senator George Badger complained of filibustering speeches, and the term became a permanent part of the political lexicon. So it goes on to talk about it says the earliest filibusters. The first demand was now called cloture, a method of ending a debate and bringing a question to vote. In 1841, the Democratic minority attempted to run out the clock on a bill to establish a national bank. Frustrated Whig senator, that's back when they used to wear the white wigs, Henry Clay threatened to change the Senate rules to limit debate. Clay's proposal prompted others to warn of even longer filibusters to prevent any change to the rules. So the Democrats have actually used this many times, and I've looked up to see how many times in history the Democrats have had complete control the way that they have right now, and you guys, it ain't many. But in 1917, with frustration mounting, and at the urging of President Woodrow Wilson, senators adopted a rule, Senate Rule 22, that allowed the Senate to invoke cloture to limit the debate to 2/3 majority vote. This rule was first put into to test in 1919. So not even 2 years after they came up with Senate Rule 22, they tried to do this. And it was knocked down because it was 2/3. 2/3 of 100 is 66. Well, a filibuster today is only 60 votes. So it actually got changed. I think it was in 1975. They reduced the number of votes required from 2/3 to 3/5. So it went from 66 to 60 in 1975. So it goes to show that a filibuster is actually a huge part of the Senate and the way that they do things. Hey, Michelle Butler, breaking the fourth wall. How you doing? Exactly, Brian. That is exactly what has to be expected. Those in power, they deceive the public to get in the power. What makes you think they ain't going to deceive you to keep the power or overthrow their power? And it even in what I just read you right off the Senate's own page, talking about the filibuster, how it was invoked and made to have the tyranny of the majority to be able to run and literally do anything they want. And this, to me, is why the filibuster is such a key component. Because if the majority is always changing rules and laws to fit their, the way that they want things, you guys, every 2 or 4 years, our governments, we won't know what laws are what, because what the Republicans want this year, the Democrats will take out next year, if the next time they get power. The Democrats put something in power, the Republicans will take it out the next time they get power. So the filibuster is actually a very good thing. But now here's something, this next one. And this is what the Senate actually is. You guys, the Senate is not, well, it is for the people, but to a bigger extent than we realize. Let's see, make sure that's up there. Okay, let's put that full screen for you guys. Now I'll take it full screen so I can read it. The framers of the Constitution created the United States Senate to protect the rights of individual states and safeguard minority opinion in a system of government designed to give the greater power to the national government. All right. They modeled the Senate on governors, councils of the colonial era, and on the state Senate that had evolved since independence. The framers intended the Senate to be the independent body of responsible citizens who would share the power with the president and the House of Representatives. John Madison, paraphrasing Edmund Randolph, explained in his notes that the Senate's role was, first, to protect the people against their rulers, and second, to protect the people against transit impressions into which they themselves might be led. So at the same time, the Senate is there, and this is why this HR 1 is such a huge deal. You guys, the federal government, the ones who now have control of the House of Representatives, the 50-50 on the Senate, and if they do away with the filibuster, they have control of the Senate because there's a Democrat in the presidency, which means the vice president is the deciding vote in a 50-50 split. The federal government would control the elections. They would write the rules. If there's a discrepancy in an election, like what just happened in Iowa, okay, Pelosi, she is wanting to disbar that seat and give it to the Democrat who should have gone to the Supreme Court. The counts in Iowa were counted 3 times, counted in that state, the way it should be. A state's election should be decided within that state. If the state cannot make the decision, then it should go to the Supreme Court. So that is another reason that the Senate is there, is to try and keep a tyrannical driven government or an overpowering side, either the Democrats or the Republicans, from reaching their arms out when they have the power and stealing states' rights. Our states' rights are the rights that we all live under. What it takes someone to live in Maine won't work for someone who lives in California. What it takes someone to live in California won't work for someone living up in Indiana. What someone in Indiana, the way that they need the rules and laws that they live under, it's not going to work for the people down in Mississippi. Each state is an individual state. All together, we form the union that is known as the United States of America. The Senate is there to protect the people and protect the states' rights. Okay, it goes on and it says, in the early weeks of the Constitutional Convention, the participants had tentatively decided to give the Senate sole power to make treaties and to appoint federal judges and ambassadors. So see, they actually, when the Senate was first formed, let's see, party division. That's the one I want. Yes. The very first Congress, 1789 to 1791. Majority party, pro-administration. Majority party, anti-administration. Pro-administration had 18 seats. At that point in time, we did not, and this is the first Congress, we did not see Democrat and Republican. And this goes on through the second, the third, and then we started to see the fourth Congress, Federalists and Republicans. And at that point, it weren't until the Federalists are the ones that became the Democratic Party. They were actually, the true name was the Democratic Party. And then we see Jacksonians, Adams, It went through a whole bunch of changes. But you figure that's from the first, and we're in what, the 117th? I do believe. Yes, we're in the 117th Congress. Majority is Democrats, 48 seats. Minority is Republicans, 50 seats. But there are 2 independents, and both caucuses are with the Democrats. So that makes it the 50-50 split. But it's been 1, 2, 3. So 3 times 4, 12 years since the Democrats have had control. And then before it does carry back and forth. And that's right where, that's why I love this website. You can go into the United States Senate website and you can find everything, the committees, the legislation, you can find everything about the Senate. But that's what the Senate, hey, last chance, that's what the Senate was. Sorry about that, you guys. My Wi-Fi just blinked out on me. Literally, I had to search to find it. Yeah, exactly. Clockwork. But no, my Wi-Fi blinked out on me. That happens sometimes. So yeah, the Senate is there to protect the state rights. Yeah, wash my hands. And that's what, you guys, if the federal government gets control with this HR1 of the the voting, and it all goes, everything goes through Washington, D.C. And this is part of why they want Washington, D.C. to become a 51st state. Right now, it's not a state. It'll give them 2 more Democrats. Republicans will never have control there again. If they have the control over every election cycle, we may never see a Republican president ever again, which brings me on to the Senate is going to, the Republicans are fighting to keep the states able to keep their own control over their electoral processes, or processes, as it's actually said. Yes, if they nationalize the elections, we're all screwed. But that's the whole thing. Is, like I was saying, what went on in Iowa. Okay, that election that happened was won by 6 votes, counted 3 times in that state. The loser, the Democratic loser, was so sore that she did not go to the courts the way it should have gone. She went straight to Nancy Pelosi in the House. Well, that's not the way it's done. And her whole battle was there were 25 votes that were not counted. Well, for one, they were not counted because the signatures could not be processed right. There were no envelopes with these 25 ballots. There were no envelopes whatsoever, so they could not get a postage date or anything like that. There was no proof of whether they got in time to be counted. Therefore, they became illegal votes and not to be counted. So the Republican won through the legal votes. And she won with it being counted 3 times, came up the same number every time. She won by 6 votes. And you guys, if the federal government is the ones who's going to be counting all this, how can we trust that our elections are done right? It's not going to be we the people or a committee of people coming together and counting the votes. It's going to be a committee that Washington, D.C. puts together to count the votes. And that's right where H.R. 1 is a big, bad deal. And the other part of why the Senate yeah, exactly. That's exactly why she went there, because she knew that every legal vote was counted. So she went to Congress because she knew that Pelosi would turn around, disembowel that seat, and give it to her. But yeah, and with all this gun control stuff, okay, we all know that the filibuster, they want to do away with that because that would bring it to the 50-50 vote. The one extra vote, the deciding vote, is Kamala Harris, the vice president, automatic Democrat side. That's not a good thing. But looking back in the history of the filibuster, you guys, the Democrats, they used it 300 and something times last year alone. Okay, as long as it could have been used for them, they were okay with it. But now, with their agenda being blocked because of this filibuster, which I just showed you has been there since the very first meeting of the Senate, the first time they met in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in the upper chambers of Congress, because they didn't have their own place to meet yet. That's where the meeting happened. There was a filibuster. The very first meeting of the Senate. So that goes to show how far back this is and why it's so important. It's important because, like we have now, the Democratic Party has Congress, they have the 50-50, and they have the presidency. If the filibuster is gone, they have complete control over everything, which I think is why Biden brought up when he was asked about if he's going to run against Donald Trump. His answer kind of blew my mind. I don't know if there's going to be a Republican Party. But yeah, I just figured I'd share a little bit of history because I'm sure everybody hears talk about the filibuster, how it was part of the Jim Crow era. And I knew that it was longer than just back then that it's been around. It's actually been around since before the Democratic and Republican parties. Exactly. It would be absolute tyranny. Tyranny, yeah. But that's exactly what it would be. We as a people would no longer be able to have the decisions that we have. And like I said, our states wouldn't be able to elect themselves the way they were. And actually, at the beginning of the Senate, it was the legislature who chose the senators according to what they wanted to bring in and pass. Well, they found that was too much overreach to give to that. So the Senate then got elected by the people. And there are 2 senators to every state. That's why we have 100. Now, if Washington, D.C. becomes a state, that's going to give 2 senators to Washington, D.C., a complete Democrat area. So no matter what, it's always going to get 2 more senators for the Democrats. That's going to give them the heads up. The other thing is if Puerto Rico comes in, they're looking at that, even if it splits 1-1, it's more leaning towards a Democratic state. So that would be either 1 or 2 more. So that would give them 3 to 4 more seats in the Senate that they would never lose and they would never have to worry about. Yeah, he has been. He's come right out and said he don't know what he's doing. But anyways, you guys, I just wanted to get this out there so you guys could all see. The links to the 2 pieces of things that I pulled up are actually in the description. I did it right this time. So you can go through and you can see the history of the Senate, the history of the filibuster, and you can see how long that these two entities have been together since day one. It is part of what makes the Senate the Senate. Without it, we're screwed. It is a very big part of what goes on in the Senate. Filibustering has been, like they said, back in the old days, it used to be stand up and speak. If you could speak for 5 days straight and you only had 4 days till they voted, speak for your 5 days. Hold that floor. Keep it from going to a vote. And that's what they wanted. That's what Biden was talking about when it needs to go back to the old days. Yeah, it is. It's elderly. I think so too. I feel bad for him. In this case, it is elderly abuse, Brian. I agree 100%. But as I was saying, the information that I was able to pull up is in the link. So if you want to read up on that stuff, you guys, feel free. There's actually on the side of it going down, there's a list of the different parts about it. You can see how many times the Senate was controlled by Democrats, how many times it was controlled by Republicans, how often it was split. You can see everything in that site. And it's very good. It's actually, that's how I like to find my information when I'm trying to learn about what's going on in the government, is I go to, sometimes the government website is the best place to find the actual history, because it's history that we're not being told about. It's history you don't learn. Like, I just thought it was the upper chamber of Congress, which it is. Which now I understand why, because that's where they met. They met in the upper chambers, the second floor. That's why has been called on to that. It's a nickname that caught on from the very first meetings. Yeah, we feel bad, but he should have been told that he had to step down before the election. That's the thing, is he weren't gonna be told. But yeah, you guys keep a very big eye on what's going on right now with all these things that they're trying to pass. All the information you need is in the description. So everybody, thanks for joining. Stay safe, stay alert, and always do things the way they work best for you. Thank you.